Dr. Elena Reyes stared at the shattered remains of her laboratory, heart pounding against her ribs. The quantum resonance detector, her life's work, lay in pieces, yet the air still hummed with energy she could almost taste. 3 years of being laughed out of academic conferences, 3 years of scraping together funding, and now this. Not failure, but something far more terrifying. Success. Dr. Reyes. Security Chief Daniels burst through the doorway, weapon drawn. Are you hurt? The energy surge took out monitors across the entire Olympus research station. Elena shook her head, still fixated on what floated before her, a single coffee mug suspended in midair, orbiting her outstretched hand like a miniature moon. She hadn't touched it. She had only thought about wanting her coffee. Get Administrator Chen, she whispered, and implement blackout protocols. No communications off station until further notice. Daniel's eyes widened at the floating mug. What did you do? Before she could answer, the emergency sirens blared. A voice crackled over the intercom. Unidentified object approaching Mars orbit. All personnel to emergency stations. The observation deck offered a clear view of the Martian sky, where a vessel unlike anything humans had built shimmered against the stars. Its hull rippled like mercury, changing shape as they watched. Elena felt a strange resonance within her mind, as though something was scanning her thoughts. It's beautiful, she murmured, pressing her palm against the reinforced glass. Administrator Chen didn't share her wonder. We're receiving no response to communications. Defense systems are standing by. The alien ship suddenly pulsed with brilliant light. Elena gasped as a wave of energy washed over her mind. Images, symbols, and emotions not her own flooding her consciousness. A sense of ancient recognition, followed by unmistakable fear. They're scared, she said, surprised by her own certainty. As suddenly as it had appeared, the alien vessel accelerated away from Mars, achieving impossible velocity. Within seconds, it had vanished beyond Jupiter's orbit. 3 days later, Elena found herself in a secure underground facility beneath the lunar surface. Military officials from Earth surrounded her, their faces grave as they reviewed footage of her incident and the alien retreat. Do it again, General Torres commanded, setting a metal sphere on the table between them. Elena hesitated, then focused her thoughts on the sphere. At first, nothing happened. Then she recalled the feeling when the alien ship had scanned her, that resonant hum at the edge of perception, and reached for it. The sphere wobbled, then rose unsteadily into the air. My God, someone whispered. General Torres leaned forward. You understand what this means. If you can do this, others might be able to as well. Elena finished. The quantum resonance field exists everywhere. My detector just helped me tap into it. Admiral Hiroshi, who had remained silent throughout the demonstration, finally spoke. The vessel's departure trajectory suggests it was heading to report to someone. They ran from us, Dr. Reyes. An advanced species with technology centuries beyond ours took one look at what you discovered and fled in terror. That's absurd, Elena said. We're barely a Type I civilization. We haven't even colonized our own system properly. Unless, Admiral Hiroshi continued, they weren't afraid of what we are now, but what we might become. That night, alone in her assigned quarters, Elena dreamed of stars that sang to her in voices she somehow remembered. She woke with tears streaming down her face and equations flowing from her fingers as she scribbled frantically on a notepad. The quantum resonance field wasn't just a discovery, it was a remembering. And somewhere across the stars, others remembered too, and they were coming. Captain Maya Wong stood at perfect attention as the 5 alien vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere, their liquid metal hulls rippling like disturbed ponds. The United Nations Plaza had been cleared for this historic moment, with only a select delegation allowed to witness humanity's first official extraterrestrial contact. Steady, she murmured to her security team through the communication implant. Standard protocol. No weapons raised unless I give the command. Maya had been chosen to lead security not just for her exemplary service record, but because preliminary tests showed she possessed above-average quantum resonance sensitivity. Not as strong as Dr. Reyes, but enough that she could sense the strange energy patterns emanating from the alien ships. The largest vessel settled onto the plaza with impossible grace. No landing gear emerged. The ship simply morphed its underside to create perfectly balanced contact points. A section of the hull flowed outward, forming an elegant ramp. "Here we go," Maya whispered. Ambassador HFY emerged first, towering at nearly 8 feet tall. The alien's crystalline body refracted sunlight into prismatic patterns across the plaza. Behind the ambassador came 4 attendants of varying forms. One appeared gaseous, contained within a hovering sphere. Another resembled an articulated insect, with too many limbs to count. Maya felt it immediately, a pressure against her mind when Soralta's multifaceted eyes swept over the human delegation. Something probing, searching. Dr. Reyes stepped forward as Earth's designated representative, her new status as the Awakened One having catapulted her from obscure researcher to humanity's most important diplomat overnight. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome you," Elena said, offering the greeting gesture they had been instructed to use. Palms forward, fingers spread. HFY and the entire alien delegation immediately dipped into what could only be described as a bow, their postures submissive in a way that made the human officials exchange confused glances. "The honor is ours." Soralta's voice resonated directly in their minds, melodic yet unsettling. "We come representing the Galactic Concord of 27 sentient species to establish formal relations with Earth." The formal proceedings moved to the United Nations chamber, where Maya watched from her position against the wall as the aliens presented credentials and diplomatic overtures. Something felt wrong. The aliens spoke of trade, cultural exchange, and technology sharing, yet their body language, if you could call it that for such diverse beings, suggested tension. Fear. During a brief recess, Maya slipped into the hallway, following her instincts toward a faint resonance signature. She found one of the smaller aliens, the insectoid one, chittering urgently into a communication device around a corner. The containment variables have shifted. It clicked in a language Maya shouldn't have understood, yet somehow did. They're developing faster than projected. The awakened female shows stage 3 resonance already. "And the others?" a voice responded. Still unaware of pattern manipulation, but their emotional states cause unconscious ripples. When the female showed mild displeasure, 3 of our systems temporarily malfunctioned. Then we must accelerate the protocol before. Maya accidentally shifted her weight, causing the floor to creak. The alien spun around, multiple eyes focusing on her position. She felt a sharp probe against her consciousness before the alien hurriedly closed the communication. "Security officer," it acknowledged in perfect English. "I was just contacting my vessel for environmental adjustments." Maya nodded professionally, but as she escorted the alien back to the chamber, she caught Dr. Reyes' eye and gave the subtle hand signal they had established earlier. Something wasn't right about these visitors, and Maya intended to find out exactly what the containment protocol was before it could be implemented against Earth. "This is beyond reckless," Dr. Reyes whispered as they slipped through the service corridor of the Manhattan Hotel, where the alien delegation had established temporary quarters. Captain Wong moved silently ahead, her military training evident in every careful step. "You heard them mention the containment protocol," Maya replied. "And you've seen how they react when you're in the room. They're planning something, and I'd rather know what before it happens to us." The diplomatic reception had ended hours ago, leaving most of the alien delegation support staff aboard their ships. Only Ambassador HFY and 2 advisors remained in the secure suite, now attending a private dinner with Earth's Security Council. Maya placed her palm against the electronic lock, closing her eyes. Since the quantum resonance discovery, she'd found she could sometimes influence simple systems through concentration. The lock hesitated, then clicked open. "That's new," Elena murmured. "Been practicing," Maya admitted, carefully pushing the door open. The alien quarters had been transformed. What had been a luxury hotel suite now contained equipment that defied human understanding, crystalline structures that hovered without support, flowing data displays that seemed to exist in more dimensions than should be possible. There, Elena pointed to a pulsing orb in the center of the room. "That's a data repository. I can feel it." Maya approached cautiously. "Can you access it?" Elena extended her hands toward the orb, her face tightening with concentration. The sphere's pulsing quickened, then stabilized to match her heartbeat. Suddenly, the room filled with three-dimensional images, star maps, DNA sequences, and recordings that made both women freeze in shock. The hologram showed humans, or beings indistinguishable from humans, standing amid the wreckage of what appeared to be a massive space battle. The humans weren't wearing spacesuits despite the vacuum. Some were gesturing, and entire enemy ships crumpled like paper toys in response. "That's impossible," Maya breathed. Elena navigated through the files, her fingers trembling as she manipulated the alien interface with surprising ease. These records are millions of years old. The Zintari call these beings the Shapers. They're us, Maya. Another file opened, showing genetic sequences with highlighted markers. The Shapers nearly destroyed the galaxy in a civil war. The survivors, fearing their own power, encoded failsafes in their descendants' DNA. Us, limiting access to the quantum resonance field until we reached sufficient technological and ethical development. Why would they hide this from us? Maya asked, even as she scrolled through tactical assessments of Earth's defenses. Because some want to help us transition safely, Elena replied, scanning rapidly through diplomatic communiques, and others want to eliminate us before we fully awaken. Maya stopped at a file labeled Operation Celestial Quarantine. Elena, look at this. The file contained detailed plans for a fleet position near Saturn, not Soralty's diplomatic group, but a military force sent by a hardline faction within the Galactic Concord. Their mission: deploy quantum dampening fields around Earth, permanently cutting humans off from their emerging abilities. They're already here, Maya said, checking the timestamp. The attack begins in less than 7 hours. Elena stared at the battle plans, her face pale. We can't fight this. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Maya closed the file, her expression hardening. Maybe we don't need to fight technology with technology. She pointed to footage of ancient humans manipulating reality. Maybe we just need to wake up faster than they expected. As if in response to her words, alarms blared throughout the building. A voice came over the emergency system. Unidentified objects detected entering the solar system near Saturn. All defense personnel report immediately. Too late, Elena whispered. They've moved up the timeline. The UES Prometheus shuddered as another energy blast grazed its hull. Captain Maya Wong gripped the command chair, refusing to show fear despite the desperate situation. 6 hours since the alarm, 4 since they'd launched humanity's only interplanetary warship towards Saturn, and 2 since they'd engaged an alien armada that outmatched them in every conceivable way. Shields at 23%, Lieutenant Kang reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. We can't take another direct hit. Through the view screen, Maya watched the enemy vessels, 17 sleek, predatory ships surrounding a massive central command carrier. They were toying with the Prometheus, testing human capabilities. Status of the quantum dampening field, she demanded. Expanding rapidly from their command ship, the science officer replied. Our resonance sensors are already going dark. Earth will be completely cut off within the hour. Maya activated the secure channel to mission control. Dr. Rice, please tell me you have something. Elena's face appeared, illuminated by the glow of multiple displays. Behind her, hundreds of volunteers sat in meditative positions, connected to a hastily assembled network of neural interfaces. The network is online, Elena reported. We have 7,422 participants globally, but we're still calibrating. Most humans have only minimal resonance sensitivity, and directing a collective consciousness is challenging. We don't have time for challenges, Maya said as the ship rocked under another blast. The dampening field will reach Earth soon. Once it does. I know, Elena interrupted. Our window closes permanently. She turned to someone off-screen. Begin the synchronization. Full power. On Earth, in stadiums, community centers, and university auditoriums, thousands of volunteers closed their eyes as the neural network activated. Most had shown only marginal sensitivity in hasty testing, but quantity had to substitute for quality. The network linked their minds, using Dr. Reyes' enhanced abilities as a focal point. Aboard the Prometheus, Maya felt it first, a strange lightness in her thoughts, followed by whispers of thousands of minds brushing against her consciousness. Captain, Lieutenant Kang gasped, "Look at your hands." Maya glanced down to see a faint blue luminescence surrounding her fingers. Similar glows appeared around the hands of several crew members. All power to forward shields, Maya ordered. Take us straight at their command carrier. That's suicide, the tactical officer protested. Trust me, Maya said, surprising herself with her certainty. Everyone on board, clear your minds. Think about protection. Think about pushing back. The Prometheus accelerated toward the massive alien vessel. Enemy weapons converged, energy blasts hammering the human ship's failing shields. But something was changing. With each impact, the shields flared not with their usual orange energy, but with the same blue luminescence that now enveloped the crew's hands. Maya felt the collective consciousness of Earth's volunteers flowing through her, thousands of minds focusing their will through the quantum resonance field. On Earth, Elena stood at the center of the network hub, her body floating several inches above the floor as blue energy cascaded around her. Now, she cried to the assembled volunteers. Together. In space, the Prometheus should have been destroyed. Instead, the blue energy surrounding it suddenly expanded outward in a massive shockwave. The alien weapons fire reversed direction, turning back upon their sources. 3 enemy vessels crumpled inward as though crushed by giant hands. The alien command carrier attempted to retreat, the quantum dampening field faltering as its generators overloaded. The collective will of humanity, channeled through the neural network and focused by their awakening genetic heritage, proved more powerful than anyone had anticipated. It's working, Maya whispered in disbelief as the alien fleet scattered in disarray. Then pain exploded through her mind. The neural network straining beyond safe limits. Throughout Earth, volunteers collapsed, blood trickling from their noses and ears as their untrained minds burned from channeling too much power. The last thing Maya saw before the viewscreen exploded was Dr. Reyes on the command channel, her eyes blazing with blue fire as she screamed, "We need to shut it down. We're not ready for this much." Then darkness. Admiral Maya Wong, her promotion still feeling strange after just 6 months, stood on the observation deck of the UES Pathfinder, watching as technicians integrated the salvaged alien technology into what would become humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. The Battle of Titan had changed everything. Humanity now knew its potential and worked with singular purpose to claim its cosmic heritage. Beautiful, isn't she? Dr. Reyes appeared beside Maya, her presence announced by the faint blue shimmer that now permanently surrounded her. Since awakening from her 3-month coma, Elena's connection to the quantum resonance field had deepened beyond anyone else's. She'll be ready for the jump test tomorrow, Maya replied. Hard to believe we've compressed centuries of theoretical development into months. Beyond the shipyard's force field, Earth gleamed blue and serene. Few on the planet below realized how close they'd come to permanent containment, or that the fragile peace with the Galactic Concord balanced on a knife's edge. Ambassador Coraltai has requested to join the expedition, Elena said quietly. The moderate faction he represents wants to help guide our transition. They fear what happened before will happen again. Maya's jaw tightened, Can we trust him? I'd looked into his mind, Elena admitted. He genuinely believes cooperation is safer than confrontation. Besides, we need his knowledge. The former alien diplomat had been a valuable resource, explaining that most species in the galaxy evolved different neural structures, making them incapable of manipulating the quantum field directly. Instead, they developed advanced technology to compensate, viewing humans' innate abilities as both miraculous and terrifying. Any progress with the coma patients? Maya asked. Elena's expression brightened. That's actually why I came to find you. 17 awakened this morning, all at once, and every single one drew the same star chart. She projected an image from her mind to Maya's, a technique they'd been practicing. The star pattern showed a system far beyond human charts, with a massive structure orbiting the primary star. They're all drawing this, Elena continued, over and over. And they're speaking fragments of a language none of our linguistics programs recognize, yet somehow I understand it. What are they saying? Home, Elena whispered. They're saying, remember home. Later that night, Maya found herself in the Pathfinder's newly completed bridge, running her hand over the command console. Human technology blended seamlessly with recovered alien systems, but the innovations that would allow them to exceed the conventional limits of both came from awakened humans' intuitive understanding of the quantum field. Ambassador Chloraltai entered, his crystalline form refracting the low light. Admiral Wong, I did not expect to find you here. Just getting a feel for her, Maya replied. Tomorrow's the big day. The alien studied her with multifaceted eyes. You know, in all the historical records of the Shapers, there was never mention of a ship. Maya looked up, puzzled. What do you mean? The Shapers had no need for vessels, Chloraltai explained. When they wished to travel between stars, they simply went. The implications hung in the air between them. Maya remembered the ancient recordings of humans manipulating reality with thought alone. We're not there yet, she said firmly. Perhaps, Chloraltai agreed, but I have observed your species these past months. The rate of your awakening exceeds all projections. The most conservative estimates suggest you will rediscover the full extent of your abilities within decades, not the millennia we had calculated. Maya turned to the viewport, where the stars beckoned. Then we better make sure we're ready for it. What she didn't share was the dream that had haunted her ever since Titan, a vision of those same stars, but viewed without the protection of a ship's hull. In the dream, she flew between them unprotected, carried only by her will and the quantum field that connected all things. And somehow, she knew the dream was also a memory. The Grand Assembly Hall of Hope Colony hummed with tension as representatives from 17 alien species argued among themselves. Just 6 weeks after establishing humanity's first extrasolar settlement, Admiral Wong found herself hosting an impromptu galactic summit. News of humanity's awakening had spread faster than light through the established interstellar community. Order, please, Maya called, her voice amplified by the resonance techniques she'd mastered during the journey outward. The alien delegates fell silent, their diverse physiologies, from crystalline structures to gaseous clouds contained in environmental suits, all oriented toward her podium. Ambassador Chloraltai stood at her side, serving as interpreter for species whose communication methods defied human understanding. The factions had formed quickly, the Protectorate Seekers who wanted human defense against ancient threats, the Containment Coalition who still advocated limiting human development, and the most disturbing group, the Shaper Faithful who had begun worshipping humans as returned gods. The human awakening is natural evolution, argued Delegate Vreen, a mollusk-like being representing 6 aquatic civilizations. Their abilities are part of the universe's design. Natural, scoffed the mechanical representative of the Sorn Collective. The Shapers nearly tore reality apart in their civil war. These humans carry that same destructive potential. A luminous, floating orb pulsed with religious fervor. They return as prophecy foretold. We must honor the awakened ones and follow their guidance. Maya rubbed her temples, feeling a headache forming. We seek peaceful integration with the galactic community. We neither want worship nor fear. The debate might have continued endlessly if not for what happened next. The assembly hall's lights flickered, then dimmed completely. A hushed silence fell over the gathering as the emergency systems failed to activate. Then, in the center of the hall, the air itself seemed to tear open. Dr. Elena Reyes stepped through the opening, her body radiating blue energy so intense that several delegates shielded their sensory organs. Maya stared in shock. Elena had been on Earth, thousands of light years away, coordinating research on the awakened coma patients. "Elena," she whispered. The physicist looked as surprised as everyone else. I'm not entirely sure how I got here," she admitted, her voice shaking. "I was focused on the star patterns from the patients, thinking about finding you urgently. And then you teleported," Ambassador Kaforaltai stated, crystal body vibrating with what Maya had learned was their expression of awe. Without technology, across interstellar space, the assembly erupted in chaos. Several delegates backed away in terror, while others prostrated themselves before Elena. The Containment Coalition representatives huddled together, frantically communicating through their devices. "Please," Elena raised her hands. "I didn't come to frighten anyone. I came because we've translated the full message from the coma patients. It's a warning." She projected images directly into the minds of everyone present, a skill she'd been developing but had never demonstrated on this scale before. They all saw it, vast, shadowy entities existing between dimensions, feeding on conscious thought. The Shapers weren't just hiding from themselves, Elena explained, her eyes wide with fear. They sealed the barriers between dimensions to protect all life from what lives in the spaces between realities. As if summoned by her words, the lights throughout Hope Colony flickered again. Emergency alarms blared momentarily, then fell silent. "Security Team Epsilon to delegation quarters immediately," a voice announced over the colony's communication system. "Medical emergency." Maya's communicator buzzed with a priority alert. The message froze her blood. 3 delegation members had been found in their quarters, still breathing but completely unresponsive, their minds apparently gone. In the stunned silence that followed, a delegate from the oldest species present spoke the words no one wanted to hear. "The seals are breaking. They're already here." Admiral Wong watched the holographic display with growing horror as reports flooded in from across settled space. The Void Harvesters had appeared simultaneously in 17 different systems. Their attacks followed the same pattern. Shimmering distortions would materialize without warning, and anyone caught in their presence would collapse, bodies intact, but minds erased. "Conventional weapons have no effect," reported Commander Singh from the human outpost on Proxima Centauri V. "Energy weapons pass right through them. Physical projectiles do the same." Even more disturbing were the reports from quantum-sensitive individuals. They described the harvesters as mathematical perfection, entities of pure pattern and order that existed by consuming the chaotic energy of conscious thought. "Our resonance abilities only make them stronger," Elena explained, her voice tight with frustration. "When we try to manipulate the quantum field against them, they simply absorb and redirect the energy." Hope Colony had become the emergency command center for the crisis. Representatives from allied species worked alongside humans, pooling their knowledge in desperate search for a solution. "Admiral," a young lieutenant burst into the command center. "You need to see this." Maya followed him to the colony's central plaza, where a group of human children played in a small park area. As she watched, a shimmering distortion, a harvester, materialized at the plaza's edge. Several adults noticed and froze in terror. But the harvester didn't advance. It hovered at the perimeter, rippling in what seemed like confusion. "It's been there for 7 minutes," the lieutenant explained. "It won't enter the playground area." Maya observed the children closely. Unlike the adults who had noticed the entity and were now paralyzed with fear, the children remained oblivious, deeply engaged in an elaborate game of make-believe. Elena arrived moments later, immediately sensing the harvester's presence. "Why isn't it attacking?" she whispered. "I don't know," Maya replied. "But look at the kids. They're the only ones acting normally." They watched as one child rode an imaginary dragon, while another pretended to be a wizard casting spells. Their game evolved constantly, rules changing on a whim as their creativity flowed. Alina's eyes widened with sudden understanding. It's the unpredictability, the randomness. She turned to Maya, excitement breaking through her exhaustion. The harvesters are entities of perfect mathematical order. That's why they consume consciousness. They feed on the patterns of logical thought. "But children at play," Maya began. "Exactly," Alina finished. "Children's imaginations are constantly shifting, following no logical patterns. The harvester can't predict or process it." Within hours, they had assembled a team of Earth's most creative minds. Artists, musicians, writers, and dreamers. What Alina dubbed Operation Wonderland seemed absurd to many of the alien allies, combating a cosmic threat with painters and poets rather than weapons. In a secure facility beneath Hope Colony, Maya watched as Alina guided a composer, a sculptor, and a novelist through mental exercises. Their neural patterns displayed on monitors showed chaotic, ever-changing configurations unlike the ordered patterns of logical thinking. "The harvesters hunt by predicting thought patterns," Alina explained. "They're perfect calculators. They can anticipate any logical response. But genuine creativity follows no algorithm." The first test came when a harvester materialized in the colony's eastern quadrant. Instead of evacuating, a team of human artists confronted it, each projecting their wildest imaginings into the quantum field. The harvester's form fluctuated violently, then destabilized completely. Maya stared at the readings in disbelief. It worked. "Not just worked," Alina said, her voice filled with wonder. "This is what the Shapers never discovered. They fought logic with logic, pattern with pattern. But human imagination, our ability to create the truly unexpected, is something entirely new in the universe." For the first time since the crisis began, Maya felt hope. "Send word to Earth. We need every creative mind we can find." 1 year after the discovery of humanity's creative defense against the Void Harvesters, Admiral Maya Wong stood on the observation platform of the newly constructed Harmony Station, watching as representatives from 32 allied worlds arrived for the official formation of the Human Cooperative. The massive space station orbited Earth, its design unlike anything in the galaxy, part technology, part manifestation of collective human thought, its sweeping organic curves housing both practical spaces and artistic wonders. "They're calling it the Creative Renaissance," Ambassador Toraltai said, joining her at the viewport. "Species that abandoned artistic expression millennia ago in favor of technological efficiency are rediscovering their creative heritage." Maya nodded, watching as ships of various designs docked with the station. Dr. Raya's academies have already trained instructors from 17 worlds. The quantum resonance interface allows even species with incompatible neural structures to temporarily experience the creative flow state. The past year had transformed galactic civilization. The Human Cooperative had emerged not as conquerors but as teachers, helping other species develop their own creative potential. Artistic expression had become the galaxy's most effective defense as the harvesters continued their assaults. The dimensional barriers are stabilizing in sectors where the creative defense has been implemented, Soralty noted. But the central breach remains. Maya's communicator chimed with Alina's distinctive tone. "It's time," she answered. In the station's central chamber, thousands of beings gathered, humans alongside representatives from throughout known space. At the center stood Dr. Alina Reyes, her mastery of the quantum field now so complete that she no longer needed technology to amplify her abilities. "The final assault begins," she announced without preamble. "Our sensors detect the largest convergence of harvesters yet, heading directly for Earth. This is no random attack. They recognize the source of their greatest threat." Holographic displays showed the approaching distortions, hundreds of them, rippling through space like heat waves. "We've prepared for this," Maya addressed the gathering. "The randomized creative algorithms are in place throughout the system. Our defense fleets are stationed at the calculated emergence points." An alarm sounded as the first harvesters breached into normal space, their forms larger and more defined than ever before. The creative corps, artists, musicians, and dreamers from dozens of worlds, took their positions throughout the station and on defense vessels. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. As harvesters materialized, they were met not with weapons but with spontaneous bursts of artistic expression. Music in never-before-heard compositions flowed through the quantum field. Painters projected impossible colors. Storytellers spun tales that changed with each telling, creating narrative paradoxes that confounded the mathematically perfect harvesters. Yet the entities kept coming, adapting, growing stronger as they pushed toward Earth. "It's not enough," Alina realized with sudden clarity. "Individual creativity still follows personal patterns. We need true randomness, the kind that comes only from billions of minds creating together." She closed her eyes, extending her consciousness through the quantum field to touch every human mind on Earth and throughout human space. "Join with me," her thoughts echoed to every human. "Create together. Imagine without limits." Maya felt it first, a gentle invitation in her mind, then a connection to something vast and beautiful. Across Earth, billions of humans paused in their daily lives as the same invitation reached them. Then it began, a simultaneous surge of pure creative energy as humanity joined minds not in structured harmony, but in glorious, chaotic improvisation. Children imagined impossible creatures. Artists envisioned colors beyond the spectrum. Musicians heard symphonies that defied mathematical analysis. The combined creative force flowed through Alina, amplified by her connection to the quantum field, and expanded outward in a wave of pure possibility. Where it touched the harvesters, they didn't simply disperse. They transformed, their rigid patterns dissolving into new forms of energy that flowed back into the fabric of reality. And at the dimensional breach itself, something extraordinary happened. The human creative surge didn't just seal the damage. It healed it, restoring the natural barriers between dimensions that had been weakening since the ancient Shaper War. In that moment of collective creation, humanity demonstrated the ultimate power in the universe, not destruction, not dominance, but the ability to imagine new possibilities and bring them into being.